Ladies and gentlemen, it's a special day as I have the privilege on interviewing one of the GOATs of the scene. He was going to be fighting on Bare Knuckle Promotions on October 12th. He is Ben the Bane Davis. How are you feeling, bro?
I'm good, man. I'm a bit under the weather right now, so not 110%, but
Oh, wow.
pumped to be chatting with you today, man.
I appreciate it very much. Now, let's get started with I want to talk about Misfits a little bit. So, you've
Mhm.
been working for the Zone. What is it like getting to present and commentate on fight nights?
No better feeling. Absolutely no better feeling. It genuinely is the best application of, I would say, all of the things that I'm good at and that I enjoy doing. And it's just a privilege, excuse me, every single time that I get the opportunity to work with Misfits to Zone and help provide either assistance on fight night via the roles that I operate in or during fight week. It's just something I'm thankful for every time.
I'll say, obviously, you commentated the last event. You sounded great. It was really good.
Thank you, man. Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, it was first pay-per-view with the Zone that I've done play-by-play for, so I thought it
Mm,
went well.
it was great. What is it like to commentate?
Oof. A big question. I would say that my mind's constantly going a billion different miles per second, trying to think about the the best way to elevate whatever given moment that we're in. For me, it's about the athletes and the sacrifice that they're going through. I mean, these fight
Mm,
camps are really hard, and I think everybody doesn't really understand how challenging it is to train for a boxing bout or bare knuckle karate combat, whatever else. So I just want to justify everything that they've gone through and bring it to the best it could possibly be. Um, I don't know. I mean, I need a deeper question.
yeah.
How is commentating? I'd need something more specific.
So, like, let's say you're in a fight. It's an important. How would you feel? Let's say it's the main event. You
hmm
have to be on point with everything. What is the pressure like?
Mm. I don't know if I'd say pressure. I don't feel at this point with X Series any pressure. There were definitely
Mm,
nerves in Houston when they had me doing the on-air presenting for the first time and like the lead presenter role. That I was nervous for. I
yeah.
felt a lot of pressure doing that because I never done it before. I felt pressure in January when we were in Leeds because it was the first time I'd been able to be part of the broadcast, and I wanted to be able to stick the landing. That
Yeah.
was pressure. With Dublin, I felt more comfortable than anything else. I think I try to reiterate to myself, that I belong in these moments and opportunities, and there's a reason why I'm asked to be the guy that's providing play-by-play or being on the presenting crew. For a long time there, it was a bit of imposter syndrome,
Mm,
but at this point, it's just comfortability. I'm asked to be in these moments because there's trust that I'll help deliver and help bring these fights to a different standard and up the entertainment value.
yeah.
So
Yeah. I mean,
I don't know. I don't know about pressure, but
yeah. I mean, like even after you fought Gabe Silva, you were commentating as well.
yeah, no, I got knocked
Yeah.
out, and then the next fight, I was in the broadcast booth, which is, that I made no secret. That was the whole reason that I took the Gabe fight was because I wanted a way to get my foot in the door with the organization, and that was the clearest path for me was to take a fight. I'd spent months, dude, trying to build relationships and get my name on Mams's radar or anyone else's radar. It took months, and I'd almost given up. This was like August of last year, and
Yeah.
um, like late August, dude. I'm in New York for PFL with a couple of my other media buddies, and Donna Corby, who was in my corner that night, and I think is decently well known by the influencer world. I was out to dinner with Donna, and I was like, "Man, I've been trying all summer, and it's just not working. I think I'm gonna pivot and put energy elsewhere." And he's like, "Well, I'll just text Mams and tell him that you'll fight anyone." And I was like, "Why didn't we do this?" Months ago.
Yeah.
Why didn't we do this earlier in the year? But
Yeah.
then the next morning he called me and it was Gabe and I didn't give a fuck.
Yeah.
Um, so
I would say like, I would say like, what is it like fighting in Misfits? Like the atmosphere and stuff.
I mean, my one experience competing in Misfits didn't go my way.
Yeah,
And so in terms of like what it is to fight in the ring, I don't know if I could tell you at this point. Um, that fight week was really fun. I'll say that Newcastle, I had a great time building it up. It was a wonderful position for me to be in because, um, full credit to Gabe. Me and him are buds now, and I've got a lot of love for that dude. And I know he's going to bounce back and come back stronger to the scene. But at that point in time, I had all the ammunition in the world to make fun of him for fighting a person like me,
yeah,
who had never competed before, who really did not belong in there with him at all. And so I just had fun that week. I was mocking him for that fact. And credit to him, the whole week he was saying, I'm going to knock you out in a round. And he did.
jeez.
But I think him and I both got exactly what we wanted out of that, and it was really cool hanging out with him this week in Dublin with a
Yeah,
championship opportunity in front of him, and everything kind of came full circle.
yeah. I was just like on a fight day, arriving to the arena, waiting for the fight. What is it like backstage before the fight? Like, what are the nerves like?
Mm. For Gabe, I didn't have nerves because I
Mm,
think for me nerves come from unpredictability. For me, I get nervous when I don't know what's going to occur, and anxiety is caused by that uncharted waters that I'm putting myself into. When I fought Gabe, I had a very clear idea of what was probably going to happen. I had a
yeah,
good understanding that it was not going to go my way, and I'd made peace with that. Like I'd made a mental effort the weeks leading up to the fight to accept that reality. And when I accepted that, I was freed from any nerves or anxiety because I knew what was going to happen. So why would I be nervous? Right? I've embraced that reality. With Most Wanted in June for the Karate Combat fight, I was nervous for that one.
oh really?
Oh yeah, because I was in a completely different position. The roles were reversed. I was the hammer. I
Yeah,
needed to beat this kid, and I had to do it dominantly. And I'm frustrated I couldn't finish him. Credit to him. He's a tough little bastard.
yeah,
But I that was the unpredictability. There was the anxiety of, man, now there is pressure. There is expectation. I need to get my hand raised. It's easy to go out there and lose to someone you're supposed to lose to. It's a bit
mm,
harder to win when you're supposed to win. And being a guy like me who doesn't have the ability to train consistently or have this extensive background, that was a bit nerve wracking. But I told myself leading up to that Karate Combat fight, like, this is a hard spar. I'm just going to go in there. I've sparred many times before, and that's all
yeah.
it is. I'm just going to crank up the intensity a little bit. And I think that helped me really calm things down a bit.
I was gonna say, last thing about Misfits, is like, what did you do after your fight, like after commentary?
Oh my God, I got so hammered. I was so drunk that night, dude. Because I hadn't had anything to drink for a couple weeks. I'm a guy that likes to have fun. I'm
Yeah.
24. I like to have a good time and party. So I remember, that night we all went to the after party, and I was just blasted, dude. I was still in my fight kit because I didn't have like a
Oh
change of
wow.
clothes, which was really stupid. So if you ask Gabe, because we were hanging out after the fight, he was like, "Why the fuck are you in your fight kit?" And I was like,
Oh
"I
my
don't know.
god.
I'm wearing the robe and the red and white trunks and whatnot." I was double fisting beers. I didn't give a shit. Yeah, I was having a good time that night.
To be fair, that is a tough kit to go out clubbing in.
Cool kit. It was a cool
Yeah.
kit.
Now, going on to Karate Combat,
Mhm.
how did you feel about fighting Most Wanted?
It was excellent. I hand selected him. We had a
Mm,
couple different people that I was interested in fighting at the beginning of June, which is when all of this kind of came together.
yeah.
And, he was immediately accepted. And I respect that. I credit him greatly for being up for it because if it wasn't him, it probably would have been very hard for me to fight on Karate Combat, at least at that point
Yeah.
in time. And the reason I pushed for that June, I think 28th, 29th date, because scheduling wise, it just worked out perfect. Even after so again, I broke my thumb on June 9th, which was frustrating
Oh wow.
because I'd accepted the fight like several days prior. I was in Clarksville, Indiana, wrapping up a bowling show,
Mm.
And after I'd commentated like the stepladder finals, me and the crew went out, had a couple drinks, got on a mechanical bull because I didn't think there'd be any risk, and I fell off the wrong way and fucking fractured my thumb. And so
Oh.
then it's like, okay, I had to go through this whole training camp with a broken thumb. I couldn't throw my left. I couldn't throw my jab. I couldn't practice my left hook at all. Like there was just a lot that kind of was up against me, and then you tack on the fact that I should win this, right? That's the perception, is I have to win this one. It was a bit stressful. I felt good about the training camp, though. I mean, again, I'm never going to have the time that I want, even for this BKFC fight. I'm never going to have the time that I want for any of these training camps, but
Mm.
I felt good about the Karate Combat one. I love the fact that I could display a little bit more than just my hands, because I do have a little bit of a background, and especially with him, his size, I was like, I can just kick him all day long.
Yeah.
I don't want to engage in the pocket really, because he's wild and unorthodox and stupid. So I
Mm.
was like, I'm just gonna kick him in the body as much as I can. But it was a fun. I mean, it was a great week in Orlando. Obviously, fight night went my way, and
Yeah.
I'm kind of bummed that Colby Covington never responded, but that's for a different time.
I mean, to be fair, even in your Misfits fight, you did show, you had experience, like your stance, like your defense and stuff.
I mean, you could say I still got knocked down around.
Yeah.
My defense was not excellent, but no, I think
Yeah.
I hit Gabe with like one good body shot. I had there was like a good 2, 3 that I connected on his guard, and
Yeah.
then I went stupid with an overhand. So there were definitely a couple moments, and I did believe that night in September. I was like, maybe I can pull it off, but it is what it is.
Were you anxious at all if Most Wanted was to pull out of the fight?
Oh, well, if he pulled out, yeah. I mean, I was a little concerned. Obviously, for those that don't know, I'm assuming if anyone, the people that watch this, they are familiar with Most Wanted and how he pulled out of the main event in Nashville at X Series 13, I think it was, in March.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I was concerned.
Yeah.
All the fight week, dude, I was telling him like, in the most positive manner possible, like, hey, it's gonna be all right, dude. Just show up.
Yeah.
Like we had a couple of conversations where I was like, just fucking walk out. And I remember afterwards, he had mentioned like he was pretty, he was nervous, and he does have IBS. Like it's tough for the kid, but
Yeah.
Full respect to him. But he made that walk, and I'm proud of him for it. And he caught me with a couple good shots. I think if he had more time to train, if his cardio was better, if he could focus on the grappling and keep grappling me, there was a chance that he probably could have beaten me that night. But it was still slim.
Yeah, because obviously, for those who don't know, he pulled out, but in a weird way. He pulled out like what, 10 minutes, 15 minutes before the main
Dude.
event.
Like
I couldn't
right
believe
when
it.
he was supposed to walk. It was crazy. So yeah, I was concerned he wasn't going to show up, but he did.
To be fair, even with that night, with the threat and all, that might have
Mhm.
had it. I bet if that threat didn't happen, I reckon he might have made that walk.
100% agree with you. Yeah,
Yeah.
there's so many external factors that happen in Nashville that like it's tough that everything gets sandbagged onto him because they had to pause the event for 2 hours
Yeah.
due to someone swatting, the arena. So I agree. I think if that shit didn't happen, he probably would have been fine. But coulda, woulda, shoulda, right?
Yeah.
We wish life was different, but we only get to live the one that we're in.
It is what it is.
It is what it is.
Now going to Bare Knuckle. So obviously you're gonna be fighting on Bare Knuckle FC. Where did it come from? Like, why did you want to fight on Bare Knuckle?
It came about a month and a half, 2 months ago. I got the phone call from Oscar, who's a good buddy of mine. I've got nothing but love for him. It's going to be a very entertaining build-up. Will be an entertaining scrap. There's no bad blood here, and I'm not going to try and create beef out of nowhere because that'd be stupid. He's a
Yeah.
good buddy. But he called me, and he was like, listen, Connor's an investor in BKFC. Now he has equity, and he's playing a larger role. They wanted more push, more marketing on the Mac Life, which is where where Oscar works.
Yeah.
It's Connor's like media outlet. So Oscar then tells them, BKFC and McGregor, he's like, listen, what if I have a fight? That would justify some increased push on the Mac Life. And they were like, great idea. Only issue is, who would you fight? And he calls little old me, and I was like, wow, this is exactly up my alley. Perfect. It was just a natural escalation. I mean, I hadn't considered it. I hadn't really thought about competing in BKFC up
Mm.
until that point, but I knew that when I got that call, I had to say yes. I had to accept it because
Yeah.
A, it's just the badass motherfucker I am, right? I don't
Yeah.
give a shit. And B, it's like this is perfect, right? I'm just going on a quest to gather all of the different combat sports, Infinity Stones. I got the BJJ, I've got the boxing, and I got the karate combat. I got the bare knuckle, right? We'll tack on an MMA debut next year, maybe, right?
Yeah.
So it felt like a natural escalation. It's a great opportunity. The money's fantastic. Most I've been paid to fight ever. So I was like,
Oh wow.
that's certainly going to be nice. And I think I have a good shot at winning this. Like, I probably, if I were to line it, 65-35 to me. I've got more experience. I've got
Yeah.
more recent experience. And I have a lot of faith in my boxing against an opponent like Oscar, whereas I didn't have faith in my boxing against maybe someone like Gabe.
Yeah. I mean, how many times has that Oscar fought before?
He fought once. So he had an
Oh
MMA
right.
debut in 2022. It was part of this like group. It was called like Train Alta, I think, or Train Alpha, and it was like this 8-10 week course that a group of people, participated in, and you train throughout the entirety of the 2-3 months, and then you have an MMA debut at the end
Oh
against
right.
someone
Yeah.
else in the course. So he went through that, excellent, and he won his MMA debut. But largely through grappling, right? He had to resort on the wrestling a lot to get that W. On the feet, there were openings, and he was getting tagged a little bit. And now in a right skill set where it's just hands, can't grapple, you can clinch a little bit, right? And
Yeah.
that muddies the conversation. But I'm like, I feel that you take away his best attribute, I can probably sneak out a W. Now, in all fairness, you take away my kicks.
Yeah.
Same thing can be said. So, but yeah, that's his background.
Have you ever had a like a street fight?
No, yeah,
No.
that's I was just thinking about this earlier today. I've only punched someone with my bare knuckle one time. It was when I was in 4th grade. I
Mm.
was in summer camp, and there was a kid that was kind of being a bit of a bully, and
Yeah.
I forget why. I don't recall the reasoning, but one morning we're outside of like the cafeteria and trying to get breakfast, and I'm at the end of the line. He's right in front of me, and he's letting everybody go in front of him, which is extending the line, and I'm still at the back of it. So it frustrated me, and he turned around at some point and gave me a dumb expression on his face, and I just like popped him as hard as I could. And then they almost sent me home.
Oh wow. They even sent you
They were
home.
not happy. I know. I was like, the camp directors sit me down, and they're like, "We're not happy with this, and you're displaying, bad behavior." And I was like, he's been bullying me for 4 days,
Yeah.
so what do you want? But yeah, I haven't been in a street fight, so honestly, I could take one punch in October and be like, yep, that's it, I'm good.
Yeah. I was gonna say, how differently do you have to train for bare knuckle? Is it like a different type of training you have to do to prepare yourself for it?
Well, thankfully, today is the start of my fight camp, so I'll let you
Okay.
know once I begin. I imagine what I'll probably do differently is a lot more work with 4-ounce gloves in
Yeah.
terms of pad work, in terms of sparring, light sparring with 4-ounce gloves. But I don't think I need to change anything too drastically. Just practice on the boxing, get back to that. And I don't know. Maybe I'll toughen up my knuckles by punching, walls or hitting gravel or something like that. Maybe I'll try that route.
The Tom Aspinall way.
Yeah, put him in petrol, baby. Put him in
Yeah.
petrol. I actually do have. I've got a video plan that kind of parodies that from Tom. So stay tuned for that.
I reckon. I don't know if he was bullshitting or not, but I wonder.
He
when
was, yeah.
I'm
No, he was bullshitting.
Yeah, I mean, if you actually put your hands in petrol, do you think it will do something or not?
No,
No.
no, of course
Yeah.
not. What do you think it would possibly do?
Yeah. That's what I thought. Yeah.
Nothing. There's this guy on TikTok that's like, he's trying to toughen up his knuckles by spraying dog medicine on it. I don't know if you've seen this.
What?
He like sprays dog medicine, and then he uses like sandpaper and wood to toughen it up. Then he literally will punch a fucking bowl of rocks to make gravel, and I'm just like, that's the biggest idiot.
Oh my-
He's the dumbest guy I've ever seen. So it does nothing.
Maybe he's just like punching trees and stuff, like dead trees. I think it's like this 8-year-old female MMA person. Like she just like chops down like dead trees with her fists or something like that.
Maybe. There's not many trees here in Arizona that
Oh
I
yeah,
go punch out in the desert, but we'll see. I'm sure there'll be some funny training that I can
cactus.
cook up. Yeah, right. Punch a cactus.
Now, obviously not looking past your opponent coming up, but is there any like dream fighters you would love to face in boxing or MMA?
I think that Mike the Truth Jackson is a guy who I say that name and everyone's like, who? He was a former UFC fighter, probably the worst UFC fighter of all time.
Worse than Ben.
He,
Ben Askren.
what's up?
Worse than Ben Askren.
No. At least Ben Askren has a win over Robbie Lawler that you can't really take
Yeah.
away from him.
Yeah.
But yeah, Mike Jackson, complete garbage fighter who only got to the UFC because of special treatment from Dana. And I think he's like 39 or 40. So athletically, there's nothing there.
Yeah.
And I want an easy win over someone that I can say was a UFC fighter. That's all I'm looking for. There's some people in this scene that are like, they're like, give me the hardest matchups. I want the toughest fights. I don't. I want to hand select everybody, make my career as easy as possible, and take as little damage that I can possibly take. I don't want the toughest challenges. No, I'd lose again. Fuck that.
Remind me a little bit of Jake Paul.
Maybe.
Yeah, how do you feel about the upcoming Jake Paul fight?
I think it's stupid.
Yeah.
I think it's very dumb. I've gone on record saying this. It's a complete travesty. And what's even more annoying is I liked the Mike Perry fight. I actually thought that was interesting. And it's a dude who had a combat sports renaissance in BKFC and was 5-0, 6-0. And a brawler, a tough guy, right?
Yeah.
So throwing him in there with Jake, I thought was intriguing. And a step up from some of the other guys that Jake's fought, but then to go all the way back down for 58-year-old Mike Tyson, who again the original date had to be moved because he had an ulcer flare up on a plane, right? A medical emergency.
Yeah.
That's God telling you don't fight, right?
Yeah.
You're getting divine intervention to not do this, yet he's persisting with it. A fight that I would have loved to see more than the Mike Tyson fight is like Luke Rockhold. To me, that's perfect. That's a former UFC champion who has a recent win in karate combat and knocked out Joe Schilling, and a big name. To me, like Jake Paul, Luke Rockhold makes a ton more sense than old ass Mike Tyson.
Yeah, I mean, like obviously, but Jake will be like, oh well, Mike Perry beat Luke Rockhold, and I just beat Mike Perry. He's the type of guy to do that.
Yeah, but like again, combat sports math is fucking stupid.
Yeah, literally.
And that was also in bare knuckle. Like that's if Jake wants to try and use that sort of equating, he should probably go try bare knuckle boxing and see how it is. Because
Now, obviously, I was talking about how you might want to make your MMA debut in the future.
Mhm.
I heard a while back, Mams was talking about Misfits MMA. Do you know anything about that, or?
Yeah. I mean, I've talked to Mams a lot about it, and I've seen some of their plans. It's interesting. I think that the way that I operate is I always try and focus on directly what's in front of me and take baby steps with it to accomplish it.
Yeah.
Misfits MMA, it would take a lot to do to make it from a dream into a reality. And I would sort of have the standpoint of, well, we should focus on boxing and make sure that we're crushing it with the Misfits and DAZN X series before we maybe even entertain doing something else, right? Dividing attention and dividing focus is ultimately how you collapse everything. That's kind of the standpoint I have. I've shared that with him and brought up that concern. But yeah, so if Misfits MMA gets off the ground and all systems are good and it's going great, maybe but it'd have to be a lot of money, I would say, to do Misfits MMA, because like PFL and UFC, that's where my head's at with the MMA debut. Unlikely as fuck. Let me preface, I grasp how unlikely the UFC is. PFL is a bit more likely. I've done a lot of work with them over the last 2.5 years, so I feel pretty confident they'd stick me on a prelim. But I would also counter to people who say, "Oh, Ben, you'd never get a UFC debut." I counter and say, "Well, nobody thought I'd go do Fury Pro Grappling. Nobody
Exactly.
thought that I could get a Misfits debut. Nobody thought I could get a Karate Combat fight. Nobody thought I could fight on BKFC."
Yeah.
Here we are, though. So I think it's time that people stop betting against me and what I can create and manifest
Yeah.
because I keep fucking doing it. This is what I get with people that don't like me. I'm like, if you don't like me and you're preying on my downfall, you're going to be consistently disappointed. It's going to be a frustrating existence for you because uh, I'm going to keep and every time you wish for things to go wrong for me, even when I lose, I win. That's the
Exactly.
problem with me, right? So, you can prey on the downfall, but with this BKFC shit, if I get tuned up and packed up, guess what? I still did a bare knuckle fight on
Exactly.
the
Yeah.
biggest bare knuckle platform in the world. like, I get myself into win-win scenarios pretty frequently. So when people say you can't do UFC, watch me.
Facts. I mean, when your bare knuckle post went up, announcing your fight, I was just in
hmm
awe. I was like, I did not expect it, and then Conor McGregor like commented on it as well. I was like, this is
Yeah.
sick.
I didn't expect it to go up then either. They told me I got a text and they're like, "Hey, we're posting in 10 minutes." I was sitting at an airport bar eating a fucking sandwich. And I was like, "Oh, okay. Well, let me prep all my tweets and whatever else."
Yeah.
And you know what's funny is Connor's got me blocked on everything. So,
Oh,
I did
what?
not see the comment. I know. Yeah, I in all fairness, I probably made a video or some joke and he blocked me over it. But yeah, I'm blocked on Twitter and blocked on Insta by him.
Yeah, I mean, he hates a lot of people, like, for example, True Geordie,
Mhm.
probably like MMA Guru, and all these other people as well. Like,
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm not saying he's not justified in blocking me. I'd probably block me too. A couple years ago, I was very annoying. I was very annoying at one point in time. I've toned it down. I've grown. But maybe in Marbella after I beat up Oscar, I can get him done and block me.
I mean, who can hate Ben the Bane Davis? Like, it's crazy. It's terrible.
A lot of
Now,
people do.
now, do you remember when he got into combat sports? Like, do you remember like the
hmm
time period where you thought, "Oh, this is sick."
Yeah, man, it was 2017. I was not really that tuned into mixed martial arts. I was not that tuned into boxing or anything else, anything combat sports related. I just wasn't aware. And then I had a best friend at the time who was like, "Yo, you have to come to this Buffalo Wild Wings." And I
Mm.
was like, "Why?" And he was like, "Because we've got Daniel Cormier and John Jones 2 playing and you're going to love it." And so I went, and that was my first introduction, was the end of that bad-blooded rivalry. And the crowd that was at Buffalo Wild Wings that day, I was taken aback. It was a lot of leather, you know what I mean? It was a lot
Yeah.
of beards and rough, tough type of guys. But I had a incredibly pleasant time. It was a very, very positive, fun atmosphere. And what really hooked me is when Jones head kicked DC and down goes Cormier.
Yeah.
The crowd just exploded, dude. The energy was infectious, and I think that's where I got the bug. When I was at ASU, because I think that was my junior year of high school. When I was at ASU, not a lot of my friends liked mixed martial arts or fucked with it, so I
Mm.
did a lot of solo viewing parties those 4 years.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's where it started. It was 2017.
To be fair, like so I'm from the UK, and most cards, the pay-per-view would start at 3, end at like 6:30 in the morning. And I remember watching 300 UFC 300 and like Max Holloway getting that knockout. It was so hard
Oh,
to
yeah,
remain quiet at like 4:30 in the morning. But I would say
dude.
who's like one of
I respect it.
I would say like who's one of your like favorite UFC fighters?
Funnily enough, Max Holloway. Dude, I absolutely subscribe to the best is blessed philosophy. I remember I was in a place called Freezer's Ice House, which was one of my, bar and grills of choice at ASU that I'd go to and sit and watch UFC fights at.
Yeah.
When he fought Brian Ortega and taught him how to box during the fight,
Yeah.
completely tuned him up. It was probably one of the more dominant fights that I'd seen at that point. In my UFC viewing
Yeah.
tenure, and I just was in awe. I was so shocked at how effortless he made it look as the champion, right? Taking on undefeated, number one contender, number two contender. I think he was even an underdog. I think he was like plus 105 on the betting line. So for him to put on a performance like that, get the doctor's stoppage, from that point forward, I was a huge Max Holloway fan.
Yeah, I'd say I say this to my friends. They think I'm basic, but ever since Pereira came in the scene, I was like, yo, this guy's
Yeah.
sick. Like getting first round stoppages, second round. Every time even with his fight against Khalil, upcoming, I'm gassed for it. A lot of people,
Yeah.
even with 307, a lot of people were like talking down about it, but I'm gassed. It has Jose Aldo, has like that Mario Guy's fight as well. Obviously the Raquel Pennington fight.
What a banger.
I
Fight
mean,
of the year. Can't wait.
I mean, her and Kayla Harrison on the same card. You would have thought maybe they might have given a Kayla, but
I think it's what the UFC is trying to angle for. I think Juliana Pena versus Kayla Harrison is a massive fight,
yeah,
and if Juliana can go in there and recapture the title, then it adds such a big layer to her showdown with Harrison. I think Kayla's going to destroy her opponent at 307,
yeah,
and I think that Kayla Harrison's going to destroy Juliana Pena when they fight. I don't know if I would be so confident that Juliana Pena can reclaim the title. Like, let's not forget, she got submitted by Jermaine Durandamy a couple years back. Let's not forget, she got dominated by Amanda Nunes,
yeah,
in their rematch. And that was her most recent performance. That was a long time ago that she's been sitting on the sidelines. Who knows what her training has looked like, what the mentality has looked like. Meanwhile, Raquel Pennington is the champion. As
yeah,
many as few fans as she has, right, and as little stardom that she has captured, she is the champ. She won the belt,
yeah.
and I don't know. Let's not be so confident that Pena can just walk in here and deal the thunder, because again, even if she does, Kayla's gonna destroy her in a couple months from that point. So
Exactly.
none of it matters, but like I get why the UFC is doing what they're doing.
Yeah, I would say what is like a title fight you're dreaming of seeing, in the upcoming months or years of UFC.
I mean, how can you put up a title fight that's not John Jones and Tom Aspinall? I think
Yeah,
that obviously is the most sensible fight to make. This is an unpopular opinion, but like I think Alex Pereira versus Magomedov Ankalaev is also a fight that I would have liked to see.
yeah,
Ank's case for a title shot is in my mind the strongest in the division, but it's not like an entirely strong case. So the fact that he's fighting Alexander Rakic, I don't necessarily hate. But Alex has not faced a guy like Magomed Ankalaev,
yeah,
and if he's able to pass that test, more power to him. That's fantastic, and I think he does. I think he does beat Magomed Ankalaev. That's kind of what's annoying about this
mm,
is they're all, dancing around this and, oh, what about Magomed's takedown threat and X, Y, and Z? It's like, dude, he forgot that he could wrestle against Jan Blachowicz for 4 rounds.
yeah,
And he got his legs eaten apart, right, before he even remembered that he can shoot a double leg. So, like, let's not count on the guy with negative fight IQ to beat the number 1, number 2 pound-for-pound fighter in the world.
yeah.
So I don't know. Those two fights are ones that I really would have loved to see. But, who knows if we'll get them.
I mean, who do you think is winning, Aspinall or Jones?
Aspinall makes John Jones look like an amateur.
Yeah,
Tom Aspinall gets through John Jones as easily as he's gotten through Sergey Pavlovich. Aspinall gets through Jones as easily as he got through Curtis Blades. I don't think that there's anything that John Bones Jones has to offer
yeah,
Tom Aspinall at this point in his career. With full respect to John, people want to say he's the greatest of all time. I would not disagree. But at this moment, 38-year-old John Jones coming off of a pectoral tear versus in his prime, young, hungry lion Tom Aspinall, who's dispatching top contenders like, he's on the regional scene. Get out of here, man. I mean, it's not a close fight. I think if I'm John Jones, I'm doing exactly what he's doing. I'm
yeah,
avoiding it, and angling for Stipe and then retiring, and I'm fine with that. I think it's here's the thing. The reason why it annoys me is because he still holds on to the heavyweight title, right? He's still
yeah,
holding on to the strap. Vacate the belt. Let Tom Aspinall be the undisputed champ at
Yeah.
265. Go headline a pay-per-view and fight Stipe, the retirement fight for John Jones. You beat the consensus GOAT of heavyweight, and then you're done. It's just the fact that he's holding the belt hostage is annoying.
Yeah, like for example, so you know how after Dana does his little rant about John Jones,
Yeah.
he keeps saying like, oh, he can't deny in his head he thinks that John is gonna fight Aspinall. Have you seen it like interviews?
I mean, there's been a lot. I think every Dana White scrum these days has a like mandatory John Jones question. It seems like it, but I don't know. I disagree. I don't think Dana would make that fight. I don't think John would agree to it. I don't think he'd ever accept that fight. If he does, credit to him. What a ballsy move. But he doesn't need to, and there's really no
Yeah.
reason for him to.
So
Yeah.
what do you think is the highlight of your career?
Oh, was the highlight of my career. Granted, it's a young career, so
Yeah, so far, I guess.
hopefully
Yeah.
I have some more highlights. Yeah. I'd say there was a couple singular moments that made me stop in the old tracks and kind of look back at the journey that I've gone through the last 2.5 years. One of which was when I commentated at Madison Square Garden. I got to provide play-by-play for. It was called World Championship Sumo, and we did it in the Hulu Theater at MSG. And I just remember that day being really. I got really sentimental because I'd been to MSG the year prior as a media member. I'd been there, again for PFL, and
Yeah.
was sitting at the Hulu Theater as press, as media, and watching the action unfold, wishing I could be a part of the on-air crew and the broadcast team at that point in time. And then, fast forward 12 months, and I'm getting that wish fulfilled. And so yeah, I was sentimental. I'd say that was a huge moment for me. I mean, it's one of the most iconic venues of all time.
Yeah.
But, again, I've only been at this since October 14th, 2022. So hopefully,
Yeah.
if you ask me that question in 2 years, I'll have a better answer.
I mean, maybe you might be fighting there or commentating at the actual MSG.
Hopefully we get to go from the Hulu Theater to the main room. That'd be big.
Yeah, but I said let's wrap up here. That's been a great interview. Thank you so much. Ladies and
Dude,
gentlemen,
thank you, man.
this is Bender Bane Davis. Make sure you check out his bare knuckle fight October 12th. And yeah, thank you.